This is one of the world's most secretive events.
The issues they'll discuss in the next few days include policy of the European Union and jobs, entitlement and debt.
Over time, Bilderberg has shifted from a more kind of politically orientated body, starting out in the 50s, which of course was a very intense era of building transatlantic institutions, NATO, etc., the early days of European integration. And I believe since the end of the Cold War, I do agree that it's become much more corporate orientated.
Right. I mean, it's not that we're saying that the idea of diplomacy and the fireside chat isn't useful between, essentially, as has just been explained, you know, democratically elected leaders who we would presume to act in the public interest. But this is now very much about private interests, and those private interests are narrowing all the time, actually, as the nature of corporations narrows all the time to be completely focused on profit and shareholder interest. 1% own more than absolutely everyone else put together, and I think what that illustrates is just that people's conceptions about what the problems are in the world and what the solutions might be are of course going to be vastly different. And what meetings like Bilderberg and Davos and others do is they reinforce the idea that these are the experts, these are the people that know what's going on, they know the truth and they might know how to solve it. Well, that might be true for their truth and their problems, but they know absolutely nothing about the lives of ordinary people, whether they be in African villages or, right, you know, deindustrializing towns in the UK. And those voices are just not getting heard in policy making.
The Bilderberg meetings are a secret meeting between the elites and people in the highest level of power. People in the CIA, people from NATO, people from political power. According to source, while at university, Bernhard joined the Nazi Party. He was also enrolled in the Sturmabteilung SA, which he left in December 1934 when he graduated and worked for IG Farben. The prince later denied that he had belonged to the SA, to the Reiter SS, the SS Cavalry Corps, and to the NSKK, but these are well-documented memberships. While he was not a fierce champion of democracy, the prince was never known to hold any radical political views or express any racist sentiments, although he admitted that he had briefly had sympathized with Adolf Hitler's regime. Prince eventually went to work for the German chemical giant IG Farben in the early 1930s, then the world's fourth largest company. It survives today as BASF, AGFA, and Bayer. He joined the statistics department of IG Farben's Berlin NW7 department, the main Nazi overseas espionage center known as VOWI, that evolved into the economic intelligence arm of the Wehrmacht. He lodged with Count Paul von Kotzebue from 1884 to 1966, an exiled Russian nobleman of German descent, and his wife, Aliane Thieu, who was born in the United States. After training, Bernhard became secretary in 1935 to the board of directors at the Paris office. Another thing to note about Bernhard is his Lockheed Martin scandal. In 1959, the Dutch government sought out to build jet fighter planes, something that would cost millions. Prince Bernhard and Lockheed Martin got together to form a business arrangement. Bernhard charged a $1 million fee, which he had sent to a Swiss bank account. Bernhard had little to do with the outcome of the final deal. The government went with Lockheed Martin, giving them a contract. In 1968, Lockheed Martin was looking for another identical plan where they consulted with Bernhard. This time, they weren't selected to receive a contract. Bernhard still made $100,000 out of the negotiation process. By the 1970s, paperwork showing commission payments linking Lockheed Martin and Prince Bernhard were discovered and investigations were launched. However, Bernhard had married Queen Juliana, who put her foot down. Bernhard resigned and nothing turned into criminal charges.
There is a social club feel to it, and there is a meeting where people talk in private. It's not secret, it's in private, where they express their views, but views do emerge over a period of time.
How important is it that actually our politicians talk together? In the last 3 years, what the crisis has taught us is that you really have to have coordinated action around the world if you want to deal with a global problem. Is this kind of meeting useful just because you get FaceTime with your counterpart over, on the other side of the pond, that you need to somehow know what he's thinking to realize what you're thinking, certainly in policy terms?
The meetings seem to be very useful. I'm not sure they can actually prevent crises, but they can set a way forward. So I'm sure with the Bilderbergers over the years, one thing that's been averted has been crisis, war, conflict. The fact that these people get together and begin to talk does smooth things out. The issue, however, is that they smooth things out in whose favor and in what direction.
Please.
No, if he says that, you've avoided crisis, you can just imagine what it would have been like had these guys not met.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of good coming out of the Bilderberg meetings. It's not all bad and it's not all negative and it's not all conspiratorial.
But the fact that it is so secretive, so opaque, means there are so many conspiracy theories around this group and have been for so many years.
Absolutely. There are many conspiracy theories, and the conspiratorial people tend to get overexcited, but they have a point. And the point is, what is the theme that's emerging? Which direction is thinking being shaped? And if you want to have a purpose for the Bilderbergers, is that they shape the way we think. They don't tell us what to do.
But why not make it transparent?
Well, because like any meeting, if you're going there and you're going to talk openly, would you talk openly about your own ideas that could damage your share price of your company if you didn't at least have some guarantee of privacy? It's privacy, not secret.
Stacey Abrams went to the meetings in 2021. Kirsten Sinema went in 2022. The website gives a small introduction of what it is. Behind the walls of a hotel, there is a flood of controversy. From beliefs of a new world order to the microchipping of the human race.
You don't have to immediately shout conspiracy theory. You can just simply describe them as extremely powerful fans of globalization. They have absolutely got a global ambition. Of course, companies like HSBC and Royal Dutch Shell and BP, these are global companies who are big fans of, for example, TTIP. These are globalists. So yes, they absolutely do have a global ambition, and they have global reach and global power. And saying all of those things isn't to say it's a conspiracy theory. It's simply to describe a powerful set of business interests.
Jared Kushner attended the Bilderberg's meeting in 2019, as did Claire McCaskill. People gather at the hotel in protest, with signs and chants. Recent meetings have been about Russia, Ukraine, post-pandemic health, and realignment of geopolitical alignments. We don't know what they've said at those meetings, but we do know that billionaires shouldn't be deciding the fates of those without a place for the average person. These so-called 120 to 140 political leaders and experts are only leaders and experts of capitalism and the problems of the rich. They don't represent the poor and working class.